occasion, some of you may recall the time this took place. Let me see where a good place is to start on here. We just start on the third paragraph. It was late in the spring semester, and as usual, the thoughts of the young men on campus had turned to the three dominant things that occupy young men's minds at that time of the year: females, and finals. The young man who lived in Anderson's dorm by the name of Michael Usey, who was prominent within the BSU. I don't know if he was prominent within anything, but prominent within the BSU, decided that we should honor the young ladies in Barron's Hall with a serenade to express our appreciation for them. Thus, the first and only performance of the Anderson Altos was scheduled. At the appointed time, the young men of Anderson gathered in the lobby to practice their one-song repertoire. The words of the song started out, "We love you, Barron's, oh yes we do." We got the rest of the words. After a few run-throughs, we marched in formation out the front door of Anderson Hall toward Barron's Hall. The freshman co-eds at Barron's had been informed in advance of our serenade and were eagerly awaiting our arrival. Little did they suspect our true intent. Upon arriving at Barron's, we established our formation on the steps leading up to the front door. Now, I didn't participate in this, so I didn't remember a lot of this, so I found this very interesting.
He was there.
On the appropriate signal, and I know you were, but on the appropriate signal, we suddenly charged toward the building, and the front doors magically swung open for us as they were held by two employees of the BSU. I don't know who in the world that would be. Penny Raid. One of the group went to the left into one wing of the building, and myself, my sweet mate, and the other half went to the right into the other wing. My sweet mate and I, being either brave or foolish, ran up the stairs all the way to the top floor of Barron's. As we hit the top of the stairs and turned left to go down the hall, we could hear the doors slamming closed in progression. We began checking doors all the way down the hall, and finally I found one door unlocked in the very last room on the hall. Quickly, I ran to the dresser on the left side of the room and opened the top drawer, nothing. I pulled open the second drawer, and it was also empty. Abandoning that dresser, I went on to the next dresser on the other side of the room. I opened the top drawer of that dresser, and once again, nothing was there. Didn't these girls wear anything? I yanked open the second drawer, and what did I find? A swimsuit. Not quite what I was looking for. Finally, I opened the final drawer of the dresser, and finally, the prize sought, a pair of red panties. I grabbed the panties, stuck them in my back pocket, and turned to leave the room. As I was turning, I heard the door click behind me, and I looked up to see an attractive blonde closing the door and leaning against it. "You're not going to get out of here," she said. This is getting even better, isn't it? Is there a proposition? Is this a proposition or a threat? I thought to myself as I slowly walked toward the door. Am I going to have to fight my way out of this room? Did I want to fight my way out of this room? But once again, reality struck, and I realized I needed to leave the premises rapidly, or else risk being made the example that would be used to detour such conduct in the future by an administration that might not be so lighthearted as we were. I had been approaching the door slowly, and I was about 3 steps from it, and still wondering what action would be required from me to escape the room. At that moment, the telephone rang, and being as well conditioned as Pavlov's dog, the co-ed leaped to answer it. I seized the doorknob, flung the door open, and ran as fast as I could toward the stairwell. I was one of the last to reach the bottom of the stairs. I ran as hard as I could and slid around the corner that led to the now closed doors. The dorm director, a quite elderly lady, was standing in the door to her room with her mouth wide open. I streaked by her. Literally streaked. I want to find out why I went on in the room for you now. Streaked by her as fast as possible in the hope that she would not be able to recognize me in some lineup in the future. Once each member of the Anderson Altos had made it safely out of the depths of Barron's, I guess that's supposed to be depths, it's a letter not on there, we reassembled on the line. Michael Usey, the esteemed BSU leader, I don't know that he was ever in my BSU, wearing the bra he had recently stolen stood in front of us to lead us in our well-rehearsed tribute. After a rousing rendition of We Love You Barons, we scattered to the four winds to study no more that night. And that was by Gary Risley. I want to know who the attractive blonde was. You willing to divulge this information?
No.
Jan,
Her-
is that your friend? Sounds like it to me.
No, you're on the first floor.
Hert's got something he's going to share with us.
What'd you do with those panties there? I hung them on my bulletin board.
Actually, that panty race was only Gary and Michael. Nobody else could do it. I've got a few here of my favorite memories that some of you filled out. Some of you didn't put your name on them. I don't know if you're embarrassed. But this sounds pretty good. My favorite memory, taking a swimming class at HSU and being the only guy in the class full of girls. That sounds pretty good. Who was that? Gordon. You're a lucky man. I know who wrote this one. He didn't put his name on it, but I know who wrote it. Painting faces like Kiss to serve Sunday lunch at Saga. It was like that. Golf practice on the 3rd floor, back wing hall, Henderson. Remember that, Tim?
Yeah.
Hunting rattlesnakes. I remember that. Bow hunting skunks on campus during the summer sessions for security. I don't remember that, Tim. Okay. From Bob Carlton, my first memory of HSU was attending chapel at Barron's and having Kathy Redeker dressed in a miniskirt sit down in front of me. I decided then that college would be fun. My favorite memory is eating breakfast and drinking hot tea at the steak and egg kitchen at 3 a.m. studying for finals and other things with Jan.
All of those that are class, we got some more to read, but all of you who are class members from 1980, would you head that way? We're going to have our picture made right quickly, and then we'll come back this morning. Our photographer is ready. Okay, we want to share some more stories with you. While you're coming back, I've got one I can tell you. Well, Herb traveled around all his life, and he transferred in or came in to Hardin-Simmons after I'd already, you transferred in from where? Someplace. Memphis State? Transferred in. Yeah, he was born in Fort Worth, and of course he moved around all over the place. And we met Herb, and a few of us met Herb when he first came to campus. I'm from Abilene. I grew up here, went to Cooper High School, and had several friends around the area. And so when Herb came in, I thought, it'd be the nice thing to do is take him hunting, show him around, and be friends with somebody. So we took a couple of us aside. We'd take Herb out to a friend of mine's place out here outside of town, outside of Abilene. And this guy that said we could hunt anytime we ever wanted to go out there. Just said, be sure to let us know whenever you go there. Just stop by my house, tell me, and then I'll let you go out there. So we, Herb riding along, and he was excited about it. We were all glad to have him. We went up there, and I told him, you guys wait here in the car, and we'll run up there and tell this guy we're going out to his place. Went up there and talked to him, and he said, sure, you can go out there. But he said, but I just want to ask you to do something. There's this old mule when you go out, you know how to get out the pasture. And he said, when you go around the corner out there, there's this old mule that's out there in that lot. He said, that mule's been with us for all of our family's life. We remember him. I mean, he's just such a close pet to the family, and yet he's dying, and he's old, and we've just got to get rid of him. And if you don't mind, when you go out there, why don't you shoot that mule, and then I'll just come and haul him off, or hire somebody to come drag him off and bury him someplace. So I thought I'd play a joke on Herb, and the rest of the guys were in the car. We went back and got in the car and said, well, what did he say? Everybody's excited about going out. And I said, well, that old sorry so-and-so, he told me just all I had to do is come out here and tell him, and we'd go out there, and he said we couldn't go. And I just started the car up, started driving, and I'm mad as I could be, and turned the corner and went around toward the pasture, and there's this old mule sitting out there, and I just slammed on the brakes, jumped out of the car, grabbed my gun, and just turned around and said, well, that old so-and-so, there's this mule. I think I'm just going to shoot his mule. And I shot, bam! About that time on the other side of the car, I heard, bam, bam. Turned around and Herb said, I got 2 of his cows. I lied. I just made that story up. Just said that about Herb. But I do have something I do want to share with you before Herb comes and reads some of these other ones. You know, there's nothing like in school having best friends and close friends through the years, making friends. I think, if I remember, Cindy, one of her best friends was Debbie Poole, Cindy Fisher. She's married to Herb now, but one of her best friends was Debbie Poole. And Herb, one of my best friends was this Michael Yusey I just read something about. He and I ran around together, did a lot of things. And Herb and Michael and I, one morning, we decided we lived too close to some high-powered preachers, at least by name anyway, living in, they were in the Metroplex. And we thought we would take off one weekend to go hear some big-name preachers. You know, we couldn't be this close to them. We didn't know if they would live very long. We were going to leave 4 o'clock on Sunday morning, drive to Dallas, hear W.A. Criswell on its early service. That, before the 11 o'clock service, drive up someplace else and hear maybe Clyde Fan up at First Richardson, and then drive someplace else for the evening service, and then come back. We left 4 o'clock on a Sunday morning. We're all 3 of us just dog tired. We drive all the way to First Baptist Church, Dallas, and we get there and find out he's not preaching that day. He's not in the pulpit. So we decided, well, we don't want to stay with somebody we didn't know. We drove on up to Richardson, and we were going to hear Clyde Fant preach. And by this time, you know, it's about 10:30 in the morning, and we're just dragging. We've been up since 4 o'clock driving just to hear these preachers. We hadn't heard one yet. We walked inside the building, and I can still remember Herb was wearing his cowboy hat. He had a straw hat he used to wear all the time. He had a beard at that time, didn't you? Had you grown a beard yet? Had his straw cowboy hat, his beard, his boots, and I think he had slacks on. I don't know, he could have had blue jeans on at that time. Michael, I think, had just kind of a pullover sweatshirt, you know, that's the way he dressed, all pullover sweatshirt and some kind of a warm-up pants. That's all he had, in tennis shoes. We walked inside First Baptist Church, Richardson. I'm the only one with a coat and tie on, you know. We go walking in, and Herb's wearing his cowboy hat, walking right down the middle of the aisle just before service, and and there were some ushers that walked up to it, and I don't remember if they told you or if they told all 3 of us together. They said something about Herb taking his hat off, and we were all tired. None of us even recognized that he had his hat still on in that church. But that's one of our big memories, and we still wonder why in the world we did that. You know, we could have just written them and caught in order to tape if we wanted to hear these guys. But I also have another one that I'd like to read here. One of my favorite memories is going to get root beer with Herb. I think that was signed Debbie Poole. No? Herb, why don't you read some more to us?
That root beer was powerful stuff.
That's your page.
Oh. I didn't know if you remember that or not. Do you remember Rose Field House? How many do? Mary Frances Hall. The freshman parking lot. Playing football behind Anderson Hall and parking in front of Anderson Hall. Bundick parked there for 3 months and never left. The car did. That was during the summer, it wasn't here. The bookstore being in Moody Center. Remember that?
Yeah.
Mexico mission trips, remember that? They were fun. Steak night on Saturdays. I don't remember that. We had steak on Saturdays.
Shoe leather, they call it that.
Peanut butter, honey sandwiches. I never had those, Caleb.
Because you're eating up everybody's plate.
The rest of the week, Dallas Cowboys versus Denver Super Bowl. That's right. You said that. That's right. Celebration singers. Bunny dips in the fountain. I remember those.
Certain people live in it.
HSU basketball games in Taylor County Coliseum. Yay! They're out there playing somewhere.
Cold.
2 a.m. curfew.
Why is the 12 o'clock curfew? It's 12 o'clock for everybody
Yeah,
else.
2 a.m. curfew. I thought Hunter was 12.
Hunter was 2.
Barron's was 12. And 2 this weekend, 2 on weekend.
Adopt a child and adopt a grandparent days and Big Cheese Pizza. I remember that. That's from Caleb Price and Fowler. Sorry. And Mark. Mark, did you write any of that? My favorite memory. During the first mission trip to Mexico, there were a few guys curious to know how did I feel for being a short person. My response was, don't you know that the most expensive perfumes come in small bottles? So they looked for a nickname and found one, Dynamite. Lakes, lights. I'm sorry. I can't read. You can write well, I just can't read. What's that?
Doesn't have picture.
Later. Okay. Did you write this? Later, every time we hold hands for prayer, Johnny Huckabee always was.
Do we want to hear the rest?
Yeah. It's got to be good.
Yeah, Johnny Huckabee always.
Getting down close to you. Johnny, all over. Look, Johnny Huckabee.
Who wrote that?
Something all over. Looked all over. That looked. He looked. Shook all over. Okay, he shook all over because Dynamite. This is getting good. Was giving him energy. You might need to explain that.
Did you write that, Julie? I'll tell Johnny. My favorite memory. Linda Little John. Sanders. Having the opportunity to travel with Singers Ho while a student first to Walt Disney World to perform, and then to Holland to the World Evangelism Conference. In Holland, the people don't look significantly different from us. After learning a few key Dutch phrases and getting lucky in guessing the meanings of several other phrases, I was mistaken several times for being Dutch. You might be Dutch, you know. Or, having totally learned the language after only 3 days. Well, that's good. Alma's could speak Spanish in 2 years. After only 3 days in the country. I had a lot of fun pretending I could understand more than I could. I do that all the time. I have fun too.
That's in English, right?
That's right.
How many more we got? 4, 5, 6. Okay. We'll take a little break from them just a minute. There's still some more coming in. Keep them coming. Keep those cards and letters are coming. Put your money where right to me. We want to start recognizing some particular and various awards and prizes. I'm going to just read some of these off. I want you just for the next few minutes, and I'm going to ask Steve to come up and sing a song. Will you do it, Steve?
Okay.
Let me tell you about this. The reason I'm asking is because we don't have a sound system, and he's got tapes for his accompaniment. It's awfully hard to sing something that's got a full-fledged tape accompaniment for some of the songs that he does. But all of us know that Stephen Walker sings some songs a cappella and has a beautiful voice. He graduated with us, and I think we all want to hear him. Is that right?
Yeah.
tell you what we're going to be asking you to look around, think about as we continue with the program. We're going to give out an award for who has changed the most. You're going to want to look around and maybe think about that. Who has changed the most? Who has changed the least? Who lives the farthest away? That's going to be fairly easy for us to come up with in a few moments. Who has the most children? See if you got it right with the asking, you can remember how many children you have. And whose occupation differentiates most from their college degree? Y'all me think about that. Brother Stephen Walker, make your way to the front, will you?
Okay, baby.
While they finish setting up, we found another one in our book, reports. And this is another highlight of the past 10 years thing, but also some memories. Let me just read some of these and you think about them. Do you remember, this is by the way from Gene Alexander. Where are you, Gene? There you go. There. Do you remember baptisms in the fountain and in the reflection pond? How many of you remember when the reflection pond wasn't even there? There's a road going right through there. Yeah, a road went right through there.
Nicholas was the person swimming.
How about pledges taking involuntary strolls in the country at midnight? Remember that? Friday night poker games. Oh. Not at Hardin-Simmons. Saturday night dances at McMurray. Bunch of heathens. Coke dates at the Little Red Barn.
Which is right now next to the porno store.
How about walking up the walls?
Oh, yeah. In Anderson, you go across.
Oh, in the hallway.
Yeah, in the hallway.
How about all-nighters at Dunkin' Donuts? Is that a study place for someone? Or just an all-night? How about pilgrims versus turkeys?
Porcupiners, right? Yes.
That's APO against all, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All school scenes. Park busting at Fort Phantom Lake. That was great. That was great until they put up that sign that said "fine for parking." The guy drove police officers out there patrolling, or security guard or something, knocked on the window. And Becky and I were out there today. I rolled down the window and he said, "Didn't you see that sign over there that said "fine for parking"?" I said, "I sure did. It sure is." How about shooting bottle rockets down the dorm hallways? The traditional homecoming outhouses. Yeah, I think Cowboy Band always came up with one, didn't it? Food fights, the only way to enjoy Saga food. What were some of those things for Saga? There you go. Do you remember the biology project growing on the shower wall? Or harassing the security? Or do you remember the thrill of graduation day? Those are good. Brother Stephen Walker, are you ready now?
Yeah, we're ready.
Come on.
Okay. Oh, this doesn't have very much sound.
Sing with it. Put it on, Stephen. You got it.
Hey, put it on the mic. That microphone on. Hey there, what's your hurry? Need not worry, whatever. There's no need to fret. I found a place to run to, someone to turn to. He's a real sure bet. You don't need no holy clover. Keep going, John. 'Cause when I'm falling. heart. 'Cause every day with Jesus means all of the heart. Give it all to Jesus, everything. Give it all to Jesus, every day. You got to put him in your heart, personally. Give it all to Jesus and be set free. Okay, let's tap it. Back on, that's it. That's a little awkward up here. I'm acting worse. Okay. Give it all to Jesus, everything, yeah. Give it all to Jesus, every day. You got to put him in your heart, personally. Give it all to Jesus and be set free. You got to give it all to Jesus, everything. Give it all to Jesus, everything. Put it in your heart, personally. Give it all to Jesus and be set free. Give it all to Jesus, everything. Give it all to Jesus every day. You got to put him in your heart, personally. Give it all to Jesus and be set free. Well, I came from Merkel, and everybody knew where Merkel was, right? Yeah. And when I was growing up there, there were 5 kids in our family, and everybody would run to the phone to see who was on the other end of the telephone. It was a real bizarre family because everybody wanted to know who was on the phone. My dad was the mayor of the town, the chairman of the deacons, and the principal of the school, and it was just a real weird family. The phone rang all the time. And when I answered the phone, it was always the operator wanting my dad, and she always said, "Mrs. Walker, is your husband there?" And I grew up with a terrible complex about my voice. In fact, even when I got into college, my freshman year was 1973. And I went around my freshman year trying to make good first impressions with everybody so people would like me and say, "Hello, my name is Steve." Then after a while, I began to work with Patty at the hospital as a physical therapist aide, and then became a clerk. And as a physical therapist aide, I was taking people to and from therapy. You worked there too, didn't you, Mike? People to and from therapy, and all my life people said yes ma'am or no ma'am or no thank you ma'am to me if they didn't see me. My voice was a lot higher, if you remember, than it is now. A lot higher. I guess it's because I've matured. I didn't grow up, but I lost some of it. Then there's a little lady that her name is Goebel that I had taken to therapy twice a day for 5 weeks. And all of my life, these people saying yes, and I thought I'd get used to it. But this little lady, we got to know each other real well. But the last day that I was taking her to therapy before she was being discharged, we were going down the hall in the wheelchair. And she stopped me at the end of the hall and said, "Hey, I'm not going another step with you until you tell me something. Are you a boy or a girl?" Well, it wouldn't have been so bad, but I had a mustache at the time. But you know, God has taken the thing that I hated most about myself and used it for Him. I don't know why, really, because when I look at the jar of clay that He's made me, I know the frailties, I see the flaws, the things that I don't like about me. But He says in 2 Corinthians that He's a treasure in jars of clay. So that, I'm not here to preach all night because that's not what we're here for, but where's my Bible? But I just want to encourage you, wherever you are in your walk after 10 years of being separated from me, days aren't always easy for any of us, and we do all face really difficult times behind us and in front of us. But God says, choose you this day to serve the Lord. And that's what I want to end with tonight. You were supposed to turn this thing on. Oh, wrong side. I got to see it. Okay. faith with someone or lend a helping hand. How long has it been since you shared the love that you had, or told someone of God's stand? Oh, Christ is calling to carry forth His light to a world that's falling. They need to know His might. Choose you to stay to serve the Lord. Choose you to stay to serve the Lord. Oh, the fields are white for harvest, but the laborers are few. So choose you to stay to serve the Lord. Let me tell you, where would you be today if someone had not cared enough to share God's love with you? The hope of tomorrow lies in our own hands. So what will you choose to do? Oh, Christ is calling to carry forth His light to a world that's falling. They need to know His might. Choose you to stay to serve the Lord. I believe it now, hear it now. Choose you to stay to serve the Lord. Oh, the fields are white for harvest, but the laborers are few. So choose you to stay to serve the Lord. Choose you to stay to serve the Lord. Choose you to stay to serve Him. Choose you to stay to serve the Lord. Oh, the fields are white for harvest, but the laborers are few. So choose you to stay to serve the Lord. Choose you to stay to serve the Lord. Choose you to stay to serve the Lord. Amen. God bless you guys.
Stephen is full-time in this business now. He's kind of been in and out, off and on. He traveled with Truth for a while, then Eternity for a while, and now he is, I believe, is Vine and Branch. Vine and Branch is the management organization out of the booking agent out of Arlington, and he's also the artist in residence at Plymouth Park Baptist Church in Irving, Texas. And one of my dearest friends, roomed with him for a while, and I decided I couldn't take him anymore, so I got married and left. No, but I want to ask you to be praying for him. I think Stephen is one of the finest concert music evangelists that we have on the field today. That's my personal opinion, but I think it's just as objective as anybody else's personal opinion. You be praying for him and be thinking about him. We have a few more of these that we want to read off, and then we're going to kind of wrap this thing up with some awards and opportunities for awards. Some of you might have been planning to go to the talent show. Well, they're going to keep going for a long time, so y'all hang around for just a few more minutes, and then we're going to start doing this. Tell you what, I've got 3 more of these, my favorite memory. Herb's got 3 more, and then we're going to have some awards that we want to present. My favorite memory. Most of my favorite memories shouldn't be written down or spoken about in mixed company. I don't know if or spoken about in mixed company. But One funny memory was driving around with Jennifer Cochran and a car
How about
of Sigma guys spraying us with fire extinguishers. Let's see, and a car of Sigma guys spraying us. Am I reading this right?
Sigma, remember Sigma?
Sigma's right. Guys spraying us with fire extinguishers. So it turned into a big chase. We ended up parking by the theater to sneak up on them, and while we were wandering the campus, they let the air out of the tires. So did we or they? They let the air out of the tires. When we finally found them, it was a race back to the car, but alas, we couldn't leave. So we were picked up and thrown into the fountain, as usual. I think you got the raw end of that deal there. Who wrote that? No, anybody want to explain? Great! You see, I pastored in Stanford my last 2 years at Hardin-Simmons. A guest music director from Hardin-Simmons, a rather stocky fellow from California, visiting, doing your music for you, Gordon, huh? He fell asleep during my sermon and began snoring loudly. One of our older ladies had to jab him with an elbow, wake him up so that he could lead our invitation hymn. That's great. Man fell asleep one time on me when I was preaching and started snoring loudly, and I said, "Miss Smith, won't you wake your husband up? He sure is disturbing." She said, "You put him to sleep." When Phil Hay and Darrell Smith and Ricky somebody, didn't remember the last name, pulled the shower chain in chemistry lab, not just once but twice. That's my favorite memory. Because after the first time, they had figured out how it worked. But little did they know how the leak in the drain system caused a flood on Dr. Rankin's desk below. That was Phil Hay, Darrell Smith, and Ricky who? Anybody remember? Anybody know?
We cleaned up the water. I don't know.
You cleaned up the water, so you did. Okay, Herb's got a couple, three more here.
Those were good. Here's one that's anonymous. Going to the Red Barn during a study break and watching the interesting people. Now, I used to go to the Red Barn. Remember those French fries? Tons of them. I used to go to the Red Barn and watch the interesting people, but I never studied there. Go to the drive-in movie theater. Who used to do that? Liz. One of my favorite memories was my freshman year having 50s Day. It was complete with guys like the Nails. The day was closed with a basketball game and a dance. Anita Crumman. I remember that. Gangs.
Gangs.
What did I say?
Like gangs.
Guys. Sorry. Gangs. You're right. Gangs. I remember that, Tim. You know Tim Bunny back here? He had a perm back then, curly hair. And when he slicked it back, it curled in the middle. Looked like a mohawk.
One of my favorite memories.
I'm glad I remembered it, Jim. My favorite memories. James Reeves and Ronnie Shaw singing Touch of the Master's Hand in Chapel. That's one of mine. It's very...
Ronnie Shaw and James Reeves.
Dr. Mason's history class and Dr. Huff's Shakespeare class. Really, Kelly? Really?
Throw another log on the fire, Mr. Bennett.
I saw Dr. Mason, John, yesterday. Did you see him?
He looks the same as he did then.
Just so glad we did our
Delta Candle, passing when I got engaged. Candle Patty. Right. Okay. Mary Powers smoking a cigar. Mary Powers. In her orange VW. Not an orange VW, but that's Kelly Randall's. Some of the memories. I have some of the same memories. And I do have a personal memory. And my personal memory, basically, are y'all. I see a lot of faces here, and I know most of them, or I remember most of them. And it's kind of hard to say, here it is, my favorite memory. My favorite memory is you. I see Gary Risley when I broke his nose. I see Tim with Mohawk. I see Patty when she helped me through a class with her homework. I see Kelly and John, my pastor, my pastor's wife, and some of the most meaningful folks and best friends I ever had. I remember Kayla sitting at that desk at Hunter every time I used to go over there to see Cindy. I remember Mark starting to go over there too.
Kayla wasn't at the desk anymore.
I remember changing a flat tire for Dale and I couldn't get the rim off. Jan Dunbar and me worked at the YMCA together. She was a great secretary when you didn't bug her.
That's true.
I remember watching Gene Alexander climb the walls during test time. Literally. I remember Julie. Mission trips. Remember those, Julie? A lot of memories. And that's the memories I want to have is memories of you. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and start these awards. We're going to wrap up, by the way, with a slideshow, and so what I said earlier is not just all the truth, and we're not going to leave right after the awards, but we're going to go ahead and start these awards because we need some nominations. On the first one, I mentioned a moment ago, who has changed the most? You've been able to look around, you've heard some of the memories you thought and reflected on some of these things we've been talking about, but I'm going to open the floor up for nominations. We'll take the top 3 or 4 or 5 nominations, whatever. We got one nomination. Georgiana, come on up here, Georgiana. Come on now. Come on down. Bundy? Where?
Bundy.
Charles?
Hey, I'm not a graduate of this class. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you changed a lot, Georgiana.
Come on down here.
He started with it.
You started with it, didn't you?
76.
76. Come on down here. Everybody that's in here, we're going to make fair game for this. Gordon.
Greg Jackson likes to be still here.
Yeah.
Greg, get over here. By the way, give him a hand for putting together some of this music and
Gay, she has changed her
who?
Gay.
Gay?
You
Okay.
got nominated.
Come on. You got a nomination?
I think Linda
Belinda? Where'd she go? Belinda, come on down. Come on. Is 5 enough?
Yeah.
Move nomination cease. The way we're going to vote on these is, do we have a second? Second. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Ayes above the nose. That's going to sink in a little bit. We're going to do the yes.
I personally think all 3 of those girls look exactly like they looked when they were in.
What a politician.
Now the 2 guys and the 3 girls look exactly like they did.
All 3 of them, you'd recognize them if you saw them on the street. We're going to have, the way we're going to do the voting is by your clapping. You vote by your clapping. All right? So all you got to do is whoever gets the loudest clap, the most clap, that's going to be the winner. We only have one prize, so we can't give it to all 5 of them. We're going to by the clapping. Let's begin. Number 1, down at the end, Belinda. Everyone thinks she's changed the most clap. There's some. All right. Number 2, Gay.
You win.
You ought to at least get a nomination, that's right. Let's go to the other lady. Number 3, Georgiana. Number 4, Greg. And number 5, Tim. We have a winner. And for his prize, we got one of those soft cushions because he's aging so quickly. He can take the football games, church, wherever he needs to go, and he can have a soft cushion to sit on. There you go.
Do I do a speech?
Go ahead, make
A short one. Hold
acceptance
on.
speech.
Thank you.
Make it short.
This is very apropos.
Okay, now we want to take nominations for, let's keep it at 5. 5 at the
Got
moment.
5 people.
Who has changed the least?
Gordon.
Linda Lewis.
Linda, come on up.
Gordon.
Gordon. Liz?
Steve Walker.
Steve Walker.
That's
Kayla.
right, thank you.
Kayla Price. Mike.
Julie Lopez.
Okay.
I gotta sing.
That gives us 6,
All right.
that's all.
She man had lots of real college.
Come on, come on.
Come on, Julie.
All right. I need you to clap for the one you think has changed the least. Start with Julie. Kayla. Linda. Mike. Gordon.
It's going to be hard to judge, folks. All of them the same.
All right, me. How about me?
Sit the guys down. Let's go crazy.
Guys, sit down.
Eliminate the guys. Now and girls.
All right, Linda. Kayla. And Julie. Kayla.
Kayla.
Kayla, you get this hat for being the least changed. I mean, that's great.